Yeah, let alone wearing like a swan sculpture to the Academy Awards. That's pretty amazing. She's interesting.
Yeah. You know, along these lines of music and sound, also another characteristic of your work is that it seems to be very, very tightly focused on the sound aspect as well. The visuals highlight what goes on, and it's like sometimes it's hard to tell which came first, which is taking precedent over the image and the sound. They seem to be really tightly woven together, and I don't know, what do you think the role of sound, and how do you think sound and animation, maybe in particular abstract animation, work together successfully?
You know, I used to say that I thought that animated films, especially my own, were 50% sound and 50% image.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm thinking it's 60% sound and 40% image. I just think the sound is so important. And I've really had the best luck in the universe because I work with two genius sound artists, sound designers, composers in Portland, Lance Limbacher and Jamie Haggerty. And these guys are just geniuses. They're absolute geniuses. They know what can go with, line and color and shape, what sounds can go with line and color and shape to absolutely, emphasize it or draw it in a certain emotional direction or push it in a different arena. It's just amazing. It takes a real genius. And my most recent film, Mistakes, I had the opportunity to work with the most famous sound designer in the world, Normand Roger, in Canada, and he brought in a couple of other collaborators. And it's so interesting to see the film as I've seen it for whatever, a year, silent or just with voice. And then suddenly this whole other layer is added to it of music and sound effects that just draw out certain things so magnificently. It's really amazing.
I'm totally mesmerized by that interaction of sound. I'm a musician myself, but to see it, it's almost like a new language when you see it with the visual.
It is. It's like a new language. And occasionally I will see something, there'll be some mistaken projection and the sound will be off and it'll play. And there's also this wild thing that goes on with sound where things will sync up anyway.
Uh-huh.
I showed a film in Portland recently and the sound was completely off. It was The Danish Poet, which had won an Academy Award. And people thought the sound was correct. I just thought that was so amazing. It was completely off. But people link up, sound and image in their minds.
Uh-huh. It's wonderful to see that. A couple of practical sort of considerations for animation for budding animators out there who would be interested in taking this up. One consideration is how is it possible to make a living doing this, and how are the ways you found to solve that dilemma? And another thing is just what kinds of options are there now for people to animate, because it seems like with the technological revolution we have now, people are making movies with cell phones and this kind of thing. So are there any bits of advice you'd give about either of those two things, the practicality of actually making a living doing animation, and what sorts of things are available to the modern day animator?
I don't think they're making movies with their cell phones. I think they're making movies, in Flash on their PCs or their Mac laptops and then putting them on cell phones. But what was the first part? How do you fund them?
Yeah.
There are lots of grants available. The problem with grants is that you have to make a film first,
Mm-hmm.
and then you apply. But there are arts organizations in every larger city and in every county in Oregon. And there's also the Oregon Arts Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to look up online. There's a newsletter called the RACC, Regional Arts and Culture Council, that lists tons and tons of funding opportunities. So you need to research that, research online. There's like foundation grants. There's literally 10,000 grants available. But the important thing is to get the first film done, and then you have something to apply with.